Hey, welcome back to our podcast. I'm that Proverbs 31 girl. I am your host, Cynthia McClary. So thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of I'm that Proverbs 31 girl. Our podcast, we are located or listed on, or available on whatever podcast platform you listen to your podcast on. We're available over there. However, now, if you're on a platform that you're not able to find our podcast, reach out to us in the comments and just tell us where you're at, and we will try and go to where you're at. Why? Because we want to do this life with you. We want to share this life with you. We want to do life together. And of course, as always, I invite you all to follow us on our social media channels. On social media, we're listed as Cynthia McClary. That is on Facebook, that's on YouTube, as well as Instagram. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started on today's episode. It's a continuation of laying your cornerstone. And now, just a quick recap, if you haven't been following us in the previous episodes, with laying your cornerstone, we're talking about that thing upon which all of everything in your life is built upon. And we looked at Ephesians 2:20. Ephesians 2:20 tells us that Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone. So we talked about the fact that, hey, there are many different cornerstones that you can choose to build on, but Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone. And then from there, we looked at Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. And this is the story where we see two men. They're both building homes, and they each decide to build on different foundations. One chose to build on sand. The other chose to build on the rock. And we see that life ended up happening to both of these individuals. The scripture tells us that the rain fell, the winds blew, the floods came to the man's house that was built on sand. And those same things happened to the man's house who built on the rock. Life happened. The outcome of the man's home that was built on sand is that it fell down. Whereas the outcome of the man's home that was built on the rock, even with all of life happening, all of the experiences that he was having, just like the man had who built on sand, his house stood the test of time. His house did not fall. Even after all of these things were happening, his house stood strong. His house remained. And so we're going to get back into where we left off. And so we see that both of these men were building, and now the scripture tells us that they were building a home. Now for us, that the building part could actually represent a number of things. Think about the things that you're wanting to build, that you have already built, or that you're in the process of building right now. Now, scripture tells us they were building a home. Now, but for us, we may not be building a home, but that home in the scripture could represent us building our family, our marriage, our relationship, our finances, building a plethora of things, building our businesses, building a lot of things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a home that you're building, but it's something that you're building. And we talked about earlier on one of the previous podcasts, we talked about the fact that God gives us choices. So we have a choice in the foundation or the cornerstone that we choose to build. And we also talked about the fact that the outcome of what happens in our life is predicated not on the circumstances that we go through, because we all go through circumstances. in some way, some shape, some form or another. The rain falls, the winds blow, and the floods come to all of us because none of us are exempt. But what determines the outcome, whether or not what we're building falls or whether or not it remains, is not the circumstances that we encounter, but the choices that we make. So our choices, not the circumstances, actually determine the outcome. So what you choose determines, I don't want to say what you lose, but technically it is. What you choose determines what is going to happen in the end. So you, by your choices, determine your outcome. Your outcome is determined by the choices that you make. Same thing with me. The choices that I make determine the outcomes that I receive. My choices, my outcomes. I choose my outcomes based on my choices. I choose my outcomes based on my choices. It's not the circumstances and the situations and the issues or the winds or the rains or the floods. It's not those things that determine the outcome. It's my choices. And God has given me free choice in the matter to choose my outcome based on the choices that I choose, based on the decisions that I make. And He's given you the same exact thing. So you see, we can be building a number of things. It doesn't just have to be a home that we're building. It could be generational wealth that we're trying to build, or it could be health that we're trying to build. We're trying to build good health. God has already given us good health. But what happens with the outcome? The choices that we choose. You know what I'm saying? Make good choices, good outcomes. Bad outcomes, if you trace it back, you'll see that it's because of a choice that you made. I know that hurt. It hurts me. Well, it doesn't hurt me saying it, but I feel the, why are you trying to make me accountable for my outcomes? Cause that's just how it is. I don't necessarily like being accountable for my outcomes, but it just is what it is. And we have to make better choices if we want better outcomes. So that's the long and short of it all. You want better outcomes? Make better choices. You make better choices, you'll get better outcomes. And that's what you would tell your children as well. Listen, if you make better choices, you'll get better outcomes. You study better, you do better in school, this, that, and other, you'll get better outcomes. Y'all know that's what y'all tell them children. And that is not a lie to the kids. Therefore, it's not a lie. It's not a lie to you. It applies to the children and it applies to you. We can't be telling them one thing and then want the rules changed for us. It can't work like that. Even though we might want it to work like that, it does not work like that. Choices produce outcomes. So we talk about the fact that you can be building a plethora of things. Now, in looking at the foundation, we see in Matthew chapter 7, 24 through 27, they had two foundations. One man chose sand, another man chose to build his home on the rock. And we see the outcome. Now, but just thinking about it, like who in their right mind would choose to build on something that they know is going to end up causing destruction? That thing that they've invested so much time trying to build. Like who would knowingly in the beginning of something that they're trying to build, who would knowingly build on a foundation that's just going to create ruin in the end? No one would do that knowingly, because usually the things that we're investing in, the things that we're building, those things are precious to us, they're valuable to us. The reason we're even building them is because we believe that they are important. They're important to us. That's why we want to build them. That's why we want to build great health. That's why we want to build great relationship with friends and family and all of this stuff. That's why we want to build good finances. That's why we want to build these things, because to us, we believe these things are valuable. You don't determine that something is valuable and then say, I want to destroy it. No, something that you hold valuable, that you're building it because it is valuable to you. And so when something is valuable to you, do you know what you want to do? You want to protect that thing. You want to protect it and make sure that it is secured. And you want to make sure that only the best of whatever it is being used for that thing that you're building. So now let's talk about this for a moment. So we see that one man built his home on sand. And because we are all smart, we're not going to go out here and get hire a contractor and say, hey, build my house on sand. But what are some of the things in our lives that sand could actually represent? Sand could represent building something on or out of fear. Like, have you ever been afraid of losing your job, so you do something else because of the fact that you're afraid, because there is fear? Have you ever made a decision to do something else because you were scared? Have you ever made a decision to build something out of fear? Fear could be considered sand. What about pride? Have you ever built something, gathered something, established something, wanted something because of pride? Because I'll show them how good I am. I'll show them what I got. I'll show them. Pride. That is pride. Pride is equated to sand. You know, it's that mentality of being the belle of the ball. That's called pride. And oftentimes we build on pride and we don't recognize that we're actually, that this move that we're making, it's not a God move. No, it's a pride move. Why? Because you don't want to be showed up. You want to show them. You know what I'm saying? That is pride. That is pride. And pride is sand. What about greed? Have you ever built something, desired something, wanted something, moved forward with something because you were greedy? It's not really that you needed it or even that you technically wanted it for a God reason. No, you just wanted it because you were greedy. Whether it's that other piece of pie or cake or those other shoes, those other whatever, your desire for that thing was based and rooted in pride. So sometimes we build our wardrobe out of pride. Don't shoot the messenger now. But I'm serious. We got to be honest with ourselves. If we're going to get better so that we can do better, then we got to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes our wardrobe is built on pride. Our marriage is built on pride. Our finances are built on pride. Listen, all of that is sand. What about selfish desires? Well, that's pride and greed right there. What about lies? What have you ever in your life built anything, started anything, created anything because of a lie? And I'm not talking about a lie somebody told you, but a lie you told yourself. What about building that wall of protection? We call it a wall of protection, around our heart. because of a lie that the enemy has told you that nobody loves you. So what do? You go out every day and you build that fence around your heart, that cave around your heart, or that cage around your heart that nobody can get through to, that nobody can penetrate. Sometimes, God is like, hold up, what you building with? Because I can't even get through there. So sometimes we build things out of lies or the foundation of what we've built. Insecurity, low self-esteem, lies, built on lies. They're built on lies. And sometimes now, low self-esteem can show, of course, y'all know low self-esteem can show up can manifest itself in a number of ways. Sometimes it can manifest itself as our temperament. You know what I'm saying? And so we build this tough, I don't care exterior, built on lies. The lies or the sand, that's a foundation of sand that is going to come crashing down. What about, have you ever built something, established something, founded something, or whatever, based on what everybody else was doing? Based on what mom and them did, grandma and them did, well, they did it, so I must be supposed to do it too. You built it on the tradition of man. You built it on generational curses. You brought something in and you continued to do something because somebody else did it. Probably you knew it was wrong, but you still did it because that's what everybody else was doing. That's called sand. That's building whatever it is that you have built, that you are building, or that you will build. That's building on sand. Your foundation is sand. And remember what happened to the man who built on sand. His house fell. And now remember, we are only building things that are considered precious, that are considered valuable and important to us. And we don't want those things to fall down. No, that's not the purpose in us building it. We don't build things to intentionally destroy them. But if we build wrong, it's going to fall all by itself. So we have to think about the foundation that we're building these important things on. Here's another form of saying, anything that is built without God is sand. Anything that you build, anything that I build, that was built, is being built, or will be built on anything other than the true and living God is sand. You have built that thing on sand. And listen, please hear me closely, right? Or hear me clearly. Okay, so there you can build something without God, and that thing can be amazing. Like, you can build your career without God. You can build your marriage without God. You can build your home without God. Like, you can build generational wealth without God. Here is the thing, though, that you have to be mindful about. Because, sometimes you see all of these things that were built without God. And I'm talking about, like, they are staggering. They're enormous. And people look at them in awe, and it's like, oh man, I want that thing. Remember, well, let me say this. Just because something is beautiful, just because something is amazing, just because something is, awe-inspiring, that was built without God, do not think that thing itself doesn't fall. What happens is, things that are built without God, there are two ways for them to fall. Probably more than two ways, but I'm going to talk about two really quickly. First, they can fall from the outside. meaning they fall, they come crashing down, and everybody know it. Everybody knows it. Like, it's on all the social media stuff. Like everybody in the church, everybody in the neighborhood, you go in the grocery store, they're talking about it all over the place. Why? Because it happened in public. Like, everybody can see it. Like, it's in shambles. It's in rubble. Now, that's one way that things that are built without God, things that are built on the foundation of sand, that's one way that they can fall down. They can fall down and everybody sees it. Like, you don't have to tell the person, or you don't have to tell people. You don't have to have a press conference, to say, hey, this thing that I was building fell. No, everybody saw it. Not only did they see it, they heard it when it hit the ground. So you don't have to convince people. Everybody knows. But the second way that something that you built with sand falls is it implodes from the inside. So when something implodes from the inside, the exterior of that thing still looks like it's all together. So the marriage on the outside still looks like it is all intact. And a lot of times those are the marriages that people be on social media talking about #relationship goals. And it's like, ma'am, you don't know what's going on in that home. Before you tag that as a relationship goal, you better inquire. You better know what you tagging and signing up to. But when it implodes from the inside, the outside is still intact. The public still think it's fine. Everybody that's looking in from the outside look at it and say, oh, ain't that pretty? I want that. The aesthetics on the outside is still appealing, but in the inside, oh my goodness. Not only can they not stand each other, but I'm talking about there's no peace in the home. There's no peace in the marriage. Even in the business, you can have a bazillion dollars. I said that right. I said it. You heard it. You can have a bazillion-dollar business that was not built on the chief cornerstone, that was built on sand. You can have a bazillion-dollar business built on sand, and it could still financially, on paper, I'm talking about, it looks good. Oh my goodness. But you go inside of the company and there's chaos, there's turmoil in some of every kind of way. Not necessarily that you're going to hear about it on the outside, but those on the inside know that it's not cracked up what to be. It's not cracked up to be the way that it works or looks on the outside. Like, by appearance, it looks good. But on the inside, it reeks, it smells, it stinks. There's fighting going on. There's chaos. Like, what? And that doesn't just apply to marriage and business, but even finances. That applies to anything that can be built. It can either fall down from the outside and everybody knows about it, or it can implode on itself from the inside and just the insiders know about it. You're still gawking after it. You're still being in awe of it. But those on the inside would tell you, child, you don't want to be up in here because it's not what it seems like. That's anything that is built on sand. Anything that is built on sand will fall. We see that in Matthew 7:24-27. It's going to fall. So you have to be careful of what you build on. And now Psalms 27:1 says, and now this is a great key, a great moment, because it is. Okay? Psalm 127:1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Now, again, I ask you now, why would you build something that you intentionally want to destroy? You're not building your marriage just so that you can destroy it. No, marriages are destroyed. Homes are destroyed. Businesses are destroyed. But whoever started those things, whoever built those things, that wasn't their intention. Like, they didn't have I'll say normal people don't have some devious intention when they're building something to destroy it. No, we build because we value it. We cherish it. We believe that it's important. And whatever you're building right now, whatever you have built, whatever you're planning to build, unless the Lord is the builder of that thing, unless the Lord is the foundation of that thing, imagine the time that we spend in shoring up and building up whatever it is that we're building. Imagine the time that you spend in your relationship before marriage. Imagine the time that you spend acquiring the knowledge, the resource, the access to invest before you actually invest. Imagine the time, entrepreneurs, I know y'all hear me, entrepreneurs, but imagine the time that you spend, gathering your resources, doing your research, creating the business plan, and all these other kinds of things, doing the work, making sure you're doing that, making sure you're doing that, just to have that thing fall down. You didn't start that business for it to fail. No, you didn't. You didn't make a vow in that marriage for it to fail. And I mean, now those are, some things that we build. Girl, what about your healthy hair routine? You did not look at all those YouTube videos and went from this source to that source, product to product. You did not build that hair care routine, that healthy hair routine for that thing to fail you. No, you did not. So it doesn't matter what you're building. What matters most is, unless the Lord is the one that is doing the building, whatever you're building, it is bound to fall down. And that is not our goal. That's not our goal. No, and that's not God's goal for you either. It's not God's goal for you either. God said, Jesus came so that you could have life and have it more abundantly. We ain't trying to destroy nothing over here. No, it's the devil, okay, that comes to steal, to kill, and to do what? Destroy, tear down what it is that you're building. But it's still choice and outcome. It still all goes back to you. What you choose to build on determines the outcome of what happens with that thing that you're building. Yes. Ooh. Listen, I don't know how many times I can say this or how many ways I can say this, how many different ways I can say this. Yep. The circumstances, they're going to come. The issues, they're going to come. Are you going to have it? Are you going to have it easy? I think it was Langston Hughes that did the poem. I think it was Mother to Son. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Girl, your life ain't gonna be no crystal stair neither. No, the same thing that happens to somebody else, girl, those same things gonna happen to you. Might be different degree, different time, different amount, but still the same thing happens. Do you know how many people in this world has had their heart broken? Are you the only one? No, ma'am, you're not. Do you know how many people in this world have experienced not having what they thought they needed? Ma'am, you're not the only one. You'll never be the only one experiencing whatever it is that you're experiencing. Do not slip into that mode of pity party. Because God is giving you too much. Okay? God is giving you too much and placed too much in you for you to slip into that mode of pity party. Okay? But unless God builds the house, they that build it, unless God builds the business, unless God builds the marriage, unless God builds the healthy routine, unless God builds whatever it is that you are building, whatever it is that you're building, that you're working hard, investing your time, your money, your energy, your resources in, your labor is in vain. Hey, listen, I still have some more. We still have some more that we need to talk about that is really important. I don't have time to talk about it right now, but join me back next week and we're going to move this train along just a little bit farther, okay? Thank you so much. I will see you all back next week.